The massive ships appeared without warning above Earth's sky. They were so large that they blocked out the sun in several major cities. People stopped in the streets looking up at the metal giants that hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds. The ships belonged to the Zathari Galactic Empire, and they had come with a message. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defense Station Sentinel, staring at the largest alien vessel she had ever seen. Her hands gripped the metal railing so tight that her knuckles turned white. She had spent 20 years in Earth's military, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. The aliens had traveled across the galaxy, and humanity had barely made it past Mars. President Marcus Webb appeared on every screen across the planet. His face looked tired and old. He told the people of Earth that visitors from another world had arrived. He tried to sound calm, but everyone could hear the fear in his voice. The aliens wanted to talk, he said. They wanted to deliver a message. The alien ambassador called himself Velcros. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His eyes were completely black without any white or color. He stood in the United Nations building in New York, surrounded by guards and cameras. Every person on Earth watched as he began to speak. Humans of Earth, Velcros said in perfect English. The Zathari Empire controls 10,000 star systems. We have brought order to countless worlds. Now we offer you a choice. Surrender your world to our protection or be destroyed. You have 72 hours to decide. The room exploded with angry voices. Diplomats shouted questions. Security moved forward, but Velcros simply smiled. To show you we are serious, he said calmly. Watch your sky. High above Mars, one of the Zathari ships fired a single beam of blue light. The beam hit Deimos, the smaller moon of Mars. In less than 3 seconds, the moon exploded into dust and rocks. The pieces scattered into space like sand in the wind. Every telescope on Earth watched it happen. Every scientist saw their instruments go crazy with readings they could not understand. Admiral Chen felt her stomach drop. The destruction of Deimos was not an act of war. It was a demonstration. The aliens were showing Earth what would happen if they refused. One small shot had destroyed an entire moon. Earth had nothing that could stop them. In the war room deep under Washington, D.C., military leaders gathered around a large table. Generals and admirals from every nation sat together studying maps and numbers. They ran computer simulations of every possible defense. Every simulation ended the same way. Earth would be destroyed in less than 4 hours. Their best weapons would barely scratch the alien shields. The streets filled with people. Some prayed in churches and temples. Others packed their cars and tried to leave the cities, though there was nowhere safe to go. Fights broke out over food and supplies. Police struggled to keep order. The world was falling apart before the aliens even attacked. Dr. James Okoye sat alone in his laboratory, studying strange readings from the edge of the solar system. He was a physicist who spent his life looking at space through massive telescopes. For the past 3 days, he had noticed something odd near Neptune. Space itself seemed to be bending in ways that made no sense. The readings looked like gravity waves, but far more powerful than anything natural. He tried to tell his colleagues about it. He sent messages to the military, but everyone was too busy preparing for the end. No one cared about strange readings when an alien fleet was about to destroy humanity. Dr. Okoye kept watching anyway. It was all he knew how to do. President Webb called another emergency meeting. Every major leader in the world joined by video call. The Chinese premier spoke first, her face grim. Our weapons are useless, she said. We cannot win this fight. The European Council agreed. So did the African Union and the South American Alliance. One by one, every nation came to the same conclusion. Admiral Chen sat in the meeting, listening to the voices of defeat. She thought about her daughter Maya, who served as a pilot in the Orbital Defense Force. She thought about all the young people who had joined the military to protect Earth. Now she would have to tell them to stand down, to accept slavery or death. We have no choice, President Webb said quietly. We must surrender. The vote was unanimous. Earth would give up without a fight. Messages were prepared to send to Velcros. The surrender would be official in 6 hours. Humanity's brief moment as an independent species was about to end. Admiral Chen walked through the corridors of Sentinel Station. Crew members passed her with tears in their eyes. Some saluted. Others simply stared at the floor. She reached the observation deck and looked out at Earth below. The planet looked so beautiful from space, blue and green and white floating in the darkness. She wondered what it would look like under alien control. Her communication device buzzed. It was Dr. Okoye. "Admiral," his voice was shaking with excitement. "You need to see this. Something is happening near Neptune. Something impossible." Admiral Chen almost ignored him. What did it matter now? But something in his voice made her pause. "Send me the data," she said. The numbers appeared on her screen. She stared at them, not understanding. Space was tearing open at the edge of the solar system. Something was coming through. Something big. With 30 minutes left until Earth's surrender, the universe itself began to break open beyond Pluto. And Admiral Sarah Chen watched as everything changed. Every sensor on Sentinel Station started screaming at once. Alarms blared through the corridors. Scientists ran to their instruments, trying to understand what they were seeing. Admiral Chen pushed through the crowd to reach the main observation screen. What she saw made her heart stop. Space was ripping apart like torn fabric. A massive hole appeared in the darkness beyond Pluto, glowing with colors that did not exist in nature. Purple mixed with green, mixed with shades of light that had no name. Through the hole came ships. Hundreds of them. Each one was larger than the biggest Zathari dreadnought. The ships were completely black. Not gray or dark blue, but true black, like a hole in space itself. They absorbed all light that touched them. Sensors could barely detect them. Radar bounced off them strangely, as if the ships were not quite real. They moved in perfect formation, silent and deadly. Admiral Chen grabbed her communication officer. "Contact them," she ordered. "Any frequency, any language. Find out who they are." The officer tried every known method of communication. Radio waves, light signals, mathematical patterns. Nothing worked. The black ships did not respond. They simply moved forward, accelerating toward Earth with impossible speed. On the Zathari flagship, Velcros stood in his command chamber, watching the same screens. His black eyes widened in something that might have been fear. "Scan those vessels," he commanded. "Match them against every known species in the Empire database." His crew worked frantically. The database contained information on over 50,000 different species and civilizations. The Zathari had been exploring space for 10,000 years. They had seen everything. But after 5 minutes of searching, the science officer turned to Velcros with confusion. "Ambassador, there is no match. These ships do not correspond to any known technology in the galaxy." Velcros felt ice run through his blood. The Zathari Empire was the greatest power in the known universe. They had conquered or absorbed every advanced civilization they encountered. The idea that something existed beyond their knowledge was terrifying. "Prepare weapons," he said. "If they do not identify themselves, we will treat them as hostile." On Earth, President Webb watched the developments from his bunker. "Are they here to help us?" he asked Admiral Chen through the video link. "I do not know, sir," Chen replied. "They could be here to claim Earth for themselves. We might have gone from one invasion to another." Then suddenly Admiral Chen's personal communication device activated. A voice spoke in clear, perfect English. The accent was completely neutral, as if the speaker had learned the language from a computer. "Earth Defense Forces, this is the approaching fleet. Hold your position. We will handle this situation." Chen's hands shook as she activated her microphone. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense. Identify yourself immediately. Who are you? What do you want?" The response was simple. "Hold position. We will explain after we deal with the Zathari." The Black Fleet crossed the orbit of Neptune in minutes. They moved faster than anything Earth scientists thought possible. They passed Uranus, then Saturn, then Jupiter. The Zathari fleet moved to intercept them, forming a battle line near Mars. Velcros broadcast on all frequencies. His voice was angry now, the diplomatic calm gone. "Unknown vessels, you are entering territory claimed by the Zathari Empire. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed." The black ships did not slow down. They did not respond. They simply continued toward Earth. "Fire," Velcros commanded. The Zathari fleet unleashed everything they had. Planet-killing weapons lit up the space between Mars and Jupiter. Blue beams of concentrated energy that could slice through mountains. Missile swarms that could destroy entire cities. Gravity weapons that could crush asteroids into dust. All of it aimed at the approaching Black Fleet. Admiral Chen watched from Sentinel Station. She had seen the Zathari destroy Deimos with a single shot. Now they were using weapons 1,000 times more powerful. The energy readings were so high that her instruments could barely measure them. Nothing could survive that assault, nothing. The black ships did not even slow down. Their shields appeared as faint ripples in space, like heat waves on a summer day. When the Zathari weapons hit those shields, something impossible happened. The weapons simply stopped existing, not blocked or deflected or absorbed. They hit the shields and vanished, as if they had never been fired at all. "My God," whispered the science officer next to Admiral Chen. "They are not just blocking the attacks, they are erasing them, removing them from reality." The Black Fleet reached the Zathari battle line. What happened next lasted only 17 minutes, but it would be talked about for generations. The black ships moved through the Zathari fleet like sharks through water. They fired no visible weapons. They launched no missiles. Instead, they simply touched the Zathari ships, and those ships stopped working. Engines died. Weapons went silent. Shields collapsed. One by one, the mighty Zathari warships became floating pieces of metal. Not destroyed, but disabled. Powerless. Some Zathari crew members managed to escape in small pods. Others sent out distress signals. But their great fleet was defeated in less time than it took to eat lunch. Velcro stared at his dead control panels in shock. His flagship had been the pride of the Empire, capable of destroying planets. Now it could not even turn on a light. Through his window he saw the black ships taking position around Earth. They formed a perfect sphere protecting the planet from any approach. On Sentinel Station, Admiral Chen stood in complete silence. Her entire crew was frozen, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Earth's defense force had not fired a single shot. The battle was over before it began. The Zathari, who had seemed invincible just hours ago, had been swept aside like insects. President Webb's voice came through the speakers, shaking. "Admiral, what just happened?" "We were saved, sir," Chen replied. "I think we were just saved." Her communication device activated again. The same calm voice spoke. "Admiral Chen, we will send a representative to your station in 24 hours. Until then, remain in your current positions. You are now under our protection." "Who are you?" Chen asked again. "Please, we need to know who you are." There was a long pause. Then the voice said something that made no sense. "We are human, Admiral. Just like you. We will explain everything when we meet. For now, know that you are safe." The transmission ended. Admiral Chen looked out at the black fleet surrounding Earth. Human? That was impossible. Earth had barely made it to Mars. These ships could cross the solar system in minutes. Their technology was beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. How could they be human? She thought about the voice. The perfect English. The concern for Earth's safety. The way they had disabled rather than destroyed the Zathari fleet, showing mercy even in battle. Could it be true? Around Earth, the black ships held their positions, silent guardians in the darkness. The Zathari survivors floated in their dead ships waiting for rescue. And on a small planet called Earth, 7 billion people looked up at the sky and wondered what would happen next. Admiral Chen had 30 minutes until the surrender deadline. But now she had no idea what to do. Earth had been saved by a mysterious fleet that claimed to be human. Nothing made sense anymore. She sat down in her command chair and waited for the impossible explanation that would come in 24 hours. 24 hours felt like 24 years. Admiral Chen did not sleep. She stood on the docking bay of Sentinel Station with President Webb, who had flown up from Earth in a shuttle. Military leaders from every nation crowded behind them. Everyone wanted to see the mysterious saviors who claimed to be human. The Black Fleet remained in position around Earth. They had not moved since the battle. Occasionally, small ships detached from the main vessels to collect Zathari survivors. The aliens were given food, medical care, and placed in comfortable holding areas. It was strange to watch. These were the same beings who had threatened to destroy Earth, yet their captors treated them with respect. A single sleek ship separated from the largest black vessel. It was smaller than the warships, but still impressive, shaped like a teardrop made of darkness. The ship approached Sentinel Station slowly, carefully. As it got closer, Admiral Chen could see it was not completely black. Faint blue lines ran along its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ship docked with a gentle thump. Everyone in the bay held their breath. Guards raised their weapons slightly, though they all knew the guns would be useless against people who could disable the Zathari fleet in 17 minutes. The airlock hissed as pressure equalized. Then the door slid open. A man stepped through. He looked completely human. He was tall, with dark skin and short black hair. He wore a uniform that was similar to military clothing, but made from material that seemed to shift colors in the light. Behind him came 5 others, 3 women and 2 men. They all looked human. They all looked normal. But something was different. Admiral Chen noticed it immediately. They moved too smoothly, like dancers who knew every step before they took it. Their eyes flickered, as if reading information that only they could see. When one of them glanced at a computer screen across the room, Chen saw data reflect in his pupils. These people had technology inside them. The lead man stepped forward and smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. "Admiral Sarah Chen," he said, extending his hand. "President Marcus Webb, it is an honor to meet you both. My name is Commander Elias Drake, representing the Terran Expeditionary Vanguard." Admiral Chen shook his hand. His grip was firm but not threatening. His skin was warm. Real. "Commander Drake," she said carefully, "you said you are human. But that is impossible. We are the only humans. Earth is the only human world." Drake's smile faded slightly. He looked around at all the faces staring at him. "Perhaps we should speak somewhere more private," he suggested. "What we have to tell you will be difficult to understand." They gathered in a conference room. Just Admiral Chen, President Webb, Dr. Okoye, and Commander Drake with one of his officers, a woman who introduced herself as Lieutenant Zara Okimbe. Everyone else was ordered to wait outside, though Chen knew they were listening through every available device. Drake sat down and took a deep breath. "You are correct, Admiral. You are the only humans in this universe. But you are not the only humans that exist." President Webb leaned forward. "Explain." 800 years from now, Earth will develop technology that allows travel between dimensions," Drake began. "We discovered that the universe is not alone. There are infinite parallel universes, each slightly different from the others. And in many of these universes, Earth exists. Humanity exists, but at different points in time with different histories." Dr. Okoye's eyes went wide. "The multiverse theory. You are saying it is real." "More than real," Lieutenant Okimbe said. "It is mapped, documented, protected. My Earth, Commander Drake's Earth, exists 800 years ahead of yours. We developed faster-than-light travel 400 years ago. We spread to the stars. And you encountered the Zathari," Admiral Chen said. Drake nodded grimly. "Yes, 400 years ago, the Zathari Empire found our Earth. They demanded surrender, just like they did here. But our Earth refused. The war lasted 200 years. Billions died. Entire colonies were destroyed. We won eventually, but the cost was terrible." He paused, and Chen saw old pain in his eyes. This man had lived through things she could not imagine. "After the war, we developed the dimensional travel technology," Drake continued. "We started exploring other timelines, other Earths, and we found something horrifying. The Zathari attack happens to almost every version of Earth, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but it always happens. So you decided to interfere," President Webb said, "to save other versions of Earth." "We formed the Temporal Accord," Lieutenant Okimbe explained. "A set of rules for interaction with parallel Earths. We can defend you from extinction-level threats, but we cannot share our technology directly. We cannot change your timeline too much. Why not?" Dr. Okoye asked. "If you have this incredible technology, why not give it to us?" Drake's face darkened. "Because we tried. In the early days, we gave advanced technology to other Earths. We thought we were helping. But every time we did it, those civilizations collapsed. Some destroyed themselves with weapons they did not understand. Others became dependent, losing the drive to innovate on their own. We learned that humanity must develop naturally, at its own pace. We can protect you, but we cannot carry you." Admiral Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "How many times have you done this? How many other Earths have you saved?" Lieutenant Okimbe spoke softly. 17,462. Your Earth has the designation Alpha 77 Kappa in our records." The room fell silent. 17,000 Earths, 17,000 versions of humanity, all saved by the same future civilization. The scale of it was overwhelming. "The Zathari know about you now," President Webb said. "They saw your ships. They know Earth is protected." "Yes," Drake agreed. "That is why we need to prepare you. We can stay for 90 days, no longer. Extended dimensional travel is unstable. If we remain too long, we risk collapsing the barrier between our universes. That would be catastrophic for both our worlds." 90 days, Chen repeated. "And then what?" "The Zathari will return." "Possibly," Drake said. "But now you know they can be beaten. And we will teach you everything we can in the time we have." Not our technology, but the theory behind it. Defense strategies, shield harmonics, energy generation principles. You will have to develop the actual technology yourselves, but we can point you in the right direction. Dr. Okoye was already taking notes, his hand shaking with excitement. This is incredible. This will advance our science by centuries. That is the hope, Lieutenant Okimbe said. She looked at Admiral Chen directly. But you should know something else. In our timeline, in our history of your Earth, you were conquered by the Zathari in 2351. 4 years from now. You did not fight back until 2387, and even then, it took you decades to win your freedom. But we have you now, President Webb said. We have this warning. Things will be different. Drake and Okimbe exchanged glances. Something passed between them, some unspoken concern. Yes, Drake said slowly. Things will be very different. Your timeline is already diverging from our records. We do not know what that means. We are in uncharted territory now. Admiral Chen stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth hung in space, beautiful and fragile. Somewhere down there, her daughter Maya was probably celebrating with the other pilots, thinking they had been saved. But Chen understood the truth. They had been given a chance, nothing more. In 90 days, their protectors would leave. Earth would be alone again. We need to tell the world, President Webb said. People need to know who you are. Agreed, Drake said. But we should be careful about how much we reveal. If the general population learns about the multiverse, about infinite Earths, it could cause panic. Or worse, philosophical collapse. People need hope right now, not existential dread. They talked for hours planning how to announce the truth. Drake and his team shared images of their Earth, 800 years in the future. Cities that floated in the sky. Ships that could cross the galaxy. Humans living on 1,000 different worlds. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. As the meeting ended, Admiral Chen pulled Drake aside. Tell me the truth, she said quietly. What are our chances, really? Drake looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, in our timeline, your Earth was conquered because you fought alone. Because you did not believe you could win. But now you know the truth. You know humans can defeat the Zathari. You have hope. That changes everything. Hope is humanity's greatest weapon, Admiral. Never forget that. The 90 days began with chaos and ended with transformation. Commander Drake and his team moved quickly, dividing themselves among Earth's major scientific centers. They worked with engineers in Tokyo, physicists in Geneva, military strategists in Moscow, and ship designers in Houston. Every day brought new discoveries, new possibilities. Admiral Chen watched as her daughter Maya volunteered for the training program. Lieutenant Maya Chen was one of the best pilots in Earth's defense force, and now she learned from people who had been fighting in space for centuries. The future humans taught her maneuvers that seemed impossible, ways to use gravity and momentum that Earth's pilots had never considered. Maya came home after her first week with stars in her eyes. Mom, she said, sitting in their small apartment on Sentinel Station. They showed us videos of space battles from their timeline. Our ships moved like rocks. Their ships dance. They dance through space like it is air. But it was not just about flying. The future humans taught Earth's forces about energy management, about reading enemy patterns, about thinking in 3 dimensions instead of 2. They taught that space combat was not about having the biggest guns. It was about being smarter, faster, more creative than your enemy. In the laboratories, Dr. Okoye worked alongside Lieutenant Okimbe. She explained the principles of dimensional energy, of quantum field manipulation, of gravitational harmonics. She could not give him the actual technology, but she could teach him the science behind it. Okoye filled notebook after notebook with equations and theories. This is like being taught by Leonardo da Vinci, he told Admiral Chen one evening. She knows things that will take us decades to discover on our own. But she is showing us the path. She is lighting the way. President Webb addressed the world every week, updating people on the progress. He was careful to present hope without arrogance. Earth was learning, he said. Earth was preparing. But they must not think they were invincible. The Zathari Empire had not been defeated, only delayed. On the 37th day, something unexpected happened. A group of Zathari prisoners requested to speak with Velcros, who was being held on Sentinel Station. Admiral Chen allowed it, watching through security cameras as the aliens gathered in their holding area. The discussion was heated. Some Zathari remained loyal to the Empire, They spoke of honor and duty, of the glory of conquest, but others disagreed. They had seen their mighty fleet destroyed in 17 minutes. They had been treated well by their captors, given food and medicine and respect. They had started to question everything they had been taught. Velcros listened to both sides. Then he requested a meeting with Admiral Chen. She agreed, bringing Commander Drake with her. The alien ambassador looked different now. His arrogance was gone. He looked tired and confused, like a man who had discovered his entire life was based on a lie. In 10,000 years of expansion, Velcro said quietly, the Empire has never encountered a species that spans time itself. We thought we knew everything. We thought we were the apex of civilization. He looked at Drake. But you humans have achieved something we never imagined. You have broken the walls between universes. We did it out of necessity, Drake replied. Your empire almost destroyed us. We refused to let that happen to others. Velcros nodded slowly. I have been thinking. The empire is not as strong as it appears. There are fractures, rebellions on conquered worlds, younger species who resist assimilation. If Earth could somehow prove it has powerful allies that the empire fears, it might create leverage. Admiral Chen leaned forward. Are you offering to help us? I am offering information, Velcro said carefully. The empire will return, but they will be cautious now. They will send scouts first, trying to understand who the black ships belong to. That gives you time. Perhaps a year, perhaps two. Use that time wisely. The conversation continued for hours. Velcros provided information about Zathari military structures, about communication systems, about the political divisions within the empire. It was valuable intelligence, though Chen did not fully trust him. But even if only half of what he said was true, it would help. On day 73, alarms woke everyone on Sentinel Station. Sensors detected a fleet approaching Earth, a large fleet. Admiral Chen rushed to the command center, her heart pounding. Were the Zathari already returning? Had they brought an even bigger force? But as the fleet got closer, something strange happened. They began broadcasting surrender codes. Zathari surrender codes. 17 Zathari vessels requested permission to approach Earth peacefully. They claimed to be defectors from the Empire. They wanted asylum. Commander Drake stood next to Admiral Chen, studying the incoming ships. This did not happen in our timeline, he said quietly. Your timeline is diverging more and more from our records. President Webb joined the conversation by video link. What do we do? Can we trust them? We need to verify their claims, Drake said. But if they are genuine defectors, this could change everything. The Empire has never faced mass desertions before. This could inspire others. The 17 ships were allowed to dock at a military station near the moon. Heavily armed guards met them. The Zathari who emerged were different from Velcros and his crew. They were younger, from species that had been conquered by the Empire within the last few centuries. They spoke of oppression, of seeing their worlds destroyed, of being forced to serve in military campaigns they did not believe in. One of them, a female Zathari with blue markings on her face, spoke to the assembled Earth leaders. We saw the battle, she said. We saw the Empire's fleet destroyed by ships we could not identify. Then we saw how you treated the prisoners. With kindness. With respect. The Empire would have executed them. You gave them medical care. That is when we knew. The Empire has been lying to us. There is another way. Admiral Chen felt something shift in her chest. These beings had been enemies just weeks ago. Now they were asking for a chance at freedom. It was dizzying how quickly everything was changing. But the defections created a new problem. If Earth accepted these refugees, it would be seen as an act of war by the Empire. The attack might come sooner. Yet if Earth turned them away, it would betray everything humanity claimed to stand for. President Webb made the decision. We will grant them asylum. We will protect them. That is what we do. That is who we are. On day 83, Dr. Okoye discovered something troubling. The dimensional rift that the Black Fleet had used to reach Earth was becoming unstable. The energy readings fluctuated wildly. Small tears were appearing in space near Neptune, opening and closing randomly. Lieutenant Okimbe confirmed his findings. We need to leave earlier than planned, she told Commander Drake. If we stay much longer, we risk catastrophic dimensional collapse. Both our universes could be damaged. Drake called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. We have 7 days, he said. Then we must go. I am sorry. We wanted to give you the full 90 days. Admiral Chen felt panic rising. 7 days? That is not enough time. We still have so much to learn. I know, Drake said gently, but there is no choice. The mathematics are clear. We stay, and both our worlds might be destroyed. Maya Chen, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. Then we make the most of the time we have. No more sleep. No more breaks. We learn everything we can in the hours we have left. The final 7 days were frantic. Every scientist, every engineer, every military officer worked around the clock. The future humans shared everything they could without breaking their own rules. They taught principles, theories, philosophies. They could not give Earth the actual technology, but they gave them the roadmap to develop it. On the final day, Commander Drake gathered with Admiral Chen and President Webb one last time. He handed Chen a small crystal no bigger than her thumb. This contains an emergency protocol, he said. Open it only if you face absolute extinction. It will give you one piece of technology, one weapon that might save you, but use it only as a last resort. The consequences of deploying it are severe. What kind of weapon? Chen asked. I cannot tell you. If you know about it, you might be tempted to use it too early. Trust me, you will know when the time is right if it comes. They said their goodbyes. Maya hugged some of the future soldiers she had trained with, tears running down her face. Dr. Okoye shook Lieutenant Okimbe's hand for a long time, thanking her over and over. President Webb gave a speech praising the visitors from another time. As the Black Fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck with Commander Drake one final time. Will we see you again? She asked. I do not know, Drake admitted. Your timeline has changed so much from ours. We cannot predict what will happen next. But I believe in you, Admiral. I believe in your species. You have something that the Zathari, for all their power, will never understand. What is that? Drake smiled. The ability to inspire hope in others. Today you inspired 17 Zathari ships to desert their empire. Tomorrow, who knows? You might inspire entire systems to rebel. That is your real weapon, Admiral. Not ships or guns, but the simple idea that there is a better way to live. The Black Fleet began to move. Space tore open once more. That impossible hole of colors that should not exist. One by one, the ships slipped through. Admiral Chen watched until the last one disappeared. Then the rift sealed itself and the future humans were gone. Earth felt empty after the Black Fleet left. Admiral Chen stood on Sentinel Station, staring at the space where the dimensional rift had been. The future humans had been gone for only 3 hours, but already she missed their presence. She touched the small crystal in her pocket, the emergency protocol that Drake had given her. She hoped she would never need to use it. President Webb addressed the world that evening. He spoke of gratitude and determination. The visitors from the future had given Earth a gift, he said. Not technology, but knowledge. Not weapons, but hope. Now it was up to humanity to prove worthy of that gift. They must unite. They must prepare. They must become the civilization they were meant to be. But even as Webb spoke, sensors detected something approaching the solar system. Admiral Chen's heart sank. It was too soon. The Zathari could not be returning already. The Black Fleet had only just left. Then Dr. Okoye identified the signatures. They were not Zathari. They were worse. Much worse. Over 3,000 Zathari Imperial warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter. The entire Imperial Armada had come. And at its center, on the largest vessel ever built by the Empire, sat the Zathari Emperor himself. The Emperor's message broadcast across every frequency. His voice was deep and cold. Humans of Earth, your mysterious protectors have abandoned you. We tracked their dimensional signatures. We waited, we watched. Now they are gone and you are alone. Surrender immediately, or your world will be reduced to ash. Admiral Chen felt ice in her stomach. The Emperor had planned this perfectly. He had waited for the Black Fleet to leave before attacking. Earth's defenders numbered fewer than 200 ships. Against 3,000 Imperial warships, they would last minutes at best. On the bridge of the largest black ship, which was only halfway through the dimensional transition, Commander Drake saw what was happening. His crew shouted warnings. The Zathari had set a trap. If Drake turned his fleet around now, they would be caught between dimensions, trapped in both universes at once. The rift would collapse catastrophically, potentially destroying both timelines. Drake's second officer looked at him with fear in her eyes. Commander, if we go back, we could collapse our entire universe. Billions of people on our Earth could die. I know, Drake said quietly. He looked at the readings, at the mathematics of dimensional travel, at the impossible choice before him. But they are us. They are human. We do not abandon our own. On Sentinel Station, Admiral Chen made her own impossible choice. She activated the communication system to address her fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. The Zathari Emperor has come with overwhelming force. We cannot win this fight, but we can show them what it means to be human. We can show them that we do not surrender. We can show them that freedom is worth dying for. Her daughter Maya was in one of the fighters preparing for launch. Mom, she said over a private channel, we love you. Whatever happens. Chen felt tears on her face. I love you too, sweetheart. Now go show them how humans fight. President Webb tried to call her back. Admiral, please. We should negotiate. We should at least try to talk. Talk is over, sir, Chen replied. The Emperor did not come here to negotiate. He came to make an example of us. To show the galaxy what happens to species who resist, we need to send a different message. The Zathari fleet began to advance. Earth's ships moved to intercept, spreading out in a defensive formation. The Zathari outnumbered them 50-1. Every tactical computer on every Earth ship showed the same result. 0% chance of survival. But before the first shot was fired, something impossible happened. The 17 Zathari defector ships moved to join Earth's defense line. They positioned themselves alongside human vessels, broadcasting on all Imperial channels. The captain of the lead defector ship spoke to her former comrades. Warriors of the Empire, I am Commander Talaran, formerly of the Conquest Fleet. I have served the Empire for 40 years. I have conquered 12 worlds in the Emperor's name. But today I stand with Earth. Because they showed me that there is another way. Because they treated us with kindness when they could have killed us. Because they represent everything the Empire claims to be but is not. Her message spread across the Zathari fleet. Confusion rippled through the Imperial ranks. Some ships held position, others hesitated. The Emperor's orders had been clear, but now some of his warriors were questioning them. Dr. Okoye, working frantically in his laboratory on Sentinel Station, had an idea. It was desperate and dangerous and might kill everyone. But they were going to die anyway. He called Admiral Chen. Admiral, I need your authorization for an experiment. It involves the new dimensional energy theories that Lieutenant Okimbe taught me. What kind of experiment? Chen asked. I think I can create a localized dimensional pulse. It would shut down all advanced technology in a 10 light-minute radius around Earth. No engines. No weapons. No shields. For about 48 hours. Admiral Chen understood immediately. If the pulse worked, it would level the playing field. The Zathari's advantage was their technology. Remove that and everyone would be equally helpless. Earth would have time to think, to plan, to prepare. Do it, she ordered. But the pulse needed to be delivered directly into the heart of the Imperial fleet. Someone would need to fly a ship carrying the device right up to the Emperor's flagship. It would be a suicide mission. The pilot might survive, but the chances were almost zero. Maya Chen volunteered before anyone else could. I am the best pilot we have, she said simply. This is what I trained for. Admiral Chen wanted to refuse. Wanted to order her daughter to stand down. But she was a military commander first and a mother second. And Maya was right. She was the best pilot they had. If anyone could succeed, it would be her. Fly fast was all Chen could say. Maya's fighter launched from Sentinel Station carrying Dr. Okoye's experimental device. She accelerated toward the Imperial fleet, weaving between the Zathari ships that were beginning their attack. Weapons fire lit up space around her. Explosions bloomed like flowers. Ships on both sides began to die. Commander Drake's Black Fleet, against all mathematical probability, began to turn around. They forced their way back through the closing dimensional rift, tearing reality apart to return to Earth's timeline. Half of Drake's crew was injured by the transition. One ship was lost completely, scattered across dimensions. But they made it through. The black ships emerged behind the Imperial fleet, weapons already firing. They could not save Earth alone, but they could buy time. Drake's voice came over the communication channels. All Earth forces, we are with you. We will always be with you. Maya's fighter raced through the chaos of battle. She flew like her instructors had taught her, dancing through space using every trick she had learned. Zathari ships tried to intercept her, but she was too fast, too skilled. She reached the Emperor's flagship and activated the device. The pulse exploded outward like a wave of invisible force. When it hit Zathari ships, their engines sputtered and died. When it hit Earth ships, they went dark. When it hit the Black Fleet, even their incredible shields flickered and failed. Within 5 minutes, every ship within 10 light minutes of Earth was floating dead in space. Maya's fighter survived barely. The pulse had drained its power, but emergency life support kept her alive. Admiral Chen watched through sensors as rescue ships launched to collect her daughter. The Emperor's flagship was powerless. His great armada was now a collection of metal boxes floating in space. He had no weapons, no communications, no engines. He would need months to get back to Zathari space using conventional drives. By then, everything would have changed, because the pulse did not just affect the ships near Earth. The effects rippled outward, carried by the dimensional energy. Across the Zathari Empire, every ship using similar technology experienced temporary failures. Communication networks went down, supply lines were disrupted, and in that moment of chaos, rebellions began. On 47 different worlds, conquered species saw their Zathari overlords suddenly vulnerable. They rose up. They fought back. Within hours, that number grew to 147 worlds. The video of Earth's stand, of 17 defector ships joining the humans, spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Commander Drake's fleet, now trapped in Earth's timeline, took up permanent defensive positions. They could not go home. The dimensional rift had collapsed completely. But Drake did not seem to mind. "We are home," he told Admiral Chen. "This is an Earth. That makes it home." 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of humanity's first true faster-than-light warship. It was not as advanced as the Black Fleet, not even close, but it worked. Earth had taken the theories taught by the future humans and built something new, something uniquely human. The ship was called the Defiant, because that was exactly what humanity had become. Defiant in the face of impossible odds. Defiant against tyranny. Defiant against those who said surrender was the only option. Dr. Okoye appeared on her screen from his laboratory on Sentinel. "Admiral, I am detecting those gravitational anomalies again. The same readings we saw before the Black Fleet arrived." Chen felt her hand move to her weapon instinctively. "The Zathari?" "No," Okoye said, and now he was smiling. "I am reading multiple ship signatures, 47 different species. They are requesting permission to enter our space." President Webb joined the communication, looking older but happier than he had in years. "The Coalition of Free Worlds," he said. "They are here for the founding ceremony." Admiral Chen walked to the observation window. Outside, ships of all shapes and sizes were arriving. Species that had thrown off Zathari rule and declared independence. Species that had heard about Earth's stand and been inspired to fight for their own freedom. They came to form an alliance, a coalition of worlds dedicated to mutual defense and shared prosperity. At the center of the gathering fleet was a Zathari vessel, but this one flew a new flag. The Zathari Rebellion, they called themselves. Led by Velcros and Commander Talaran, they represented the Zathari who rejected the Empire's ways. An ambassador from one of the allied species addressed the coalition. "For 10,000 years, the Zathari Empire told us that resistance was futile. That conquest was inevitable. That freedom was an illusion. Then a small planet called Earth proved them wrong. You showed us that hope is real, that tyranny can be defeated, that every being has the right to determine their own destiny." President Webb gave the closing speech. He stood before representatives of 47 different species and spoke simply. "Humanity is not special because we are stronger. We are not special because we have better weapons or bigger ships. We are special because we refuse to kneel, because we believe that every being, regardless of species, deserves freedom. That belief is our weapon. That belief is our strength. And together, we will make sure that no empire ever again threatens the free people of the galaxy." Admiral Chen watched the assembled fleet and thought about Commander Drake. He stood on one of the black ships nearby, watching the same ceremony. They had changed the timeline completely. Earth had not been conquered in 2351. Instead, Earth had become the spark that ignited a galactic revolution. Maya came to stand beside her mother on the bridge. She had recovered from her injuries and now wore a medal for valor. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked, meaning the Zathari Empire. "Probably," Chen admitted. "But now we are not alone. Now we have allies. Now we have hope. Dr. Okoye's voice came over the speaker one more time. Admiral, I have confirmed the identity of the new arrivals. You need to see this. Chen pulled up the data on her screen. Her eyes went wide. The new arrivals were not reinforcements from the Coalition. They were Zathari, 300 ships from the Imperial core worlds. For a moment, Chen's hand moved to the weapons console. Then she saw the message they were broadcasting. It was from Imperial Admiral Cronus, one of the Emperor's top commanders. He spoke slowly, carefully. Earth Defense Force, this is Admiral Cronus of the Zathari First Fleet. We come not as conquerors, but as supplicants. The Emperor was captured by rebels 6 days ago. The Empire is fragmenting. We need help establishing a new government, a democratic government. We have seen what you built here with the Coalition of Free Worlds. We want to learn from you. Chen looked at President Webb, who looked just as shocked. The Zathari Empire, the greatest power in the known galaxy, was asking Earth for help, asking humanity to show them how to be free. Webb smiled slowly. Admiral Chen, I think our work is just beginning. Yes, sir, Chen agreed. She looked out at the gathering of ships, at the representatives of 100 different worlds, all united by a single idea. Freedom was worth fighting for. Hope was stronger than fear, and sometimes the smallest world could change an entire galaxy. The Defiance engines hummed to life. It was time to get to work.